Hello and welcome back to the table. Today we're going to be having a look at Rising Sun, a truly gigantic game of conquest, gods and monsters. Players will be taking on the roles of legendary Japanese clans, each seeking to be the leader of that island nation, using alliances, betrayal and a whole lot of war. So let's get this to the table and see what we've gotten ourselves in for. In case you couldn't figure it out from this, Rising Sun was originally a Kickstarter campaign, a site that will no doubt be familiar to anyone who's ever backed a Cool Mini or Not campaign. So here we have sort of three sets. We've got the base game in the middle here. Over here we've got expansion content. And over here are most of the Kickstarter exclusives, which, with the exception of the secondary market, are going to be unavailable to most consumers. Now, for the purposes of this review, I will be looking at the base game, though we will touch on the exclusives later on. Also, full disclosure, I was not an original Kickstarter backer, though I did purchase a full Kickstarter set. Cool Mini or Not pride themselves on their miniatures, and I really do feel that Rising Sun is some of their best work. Each clan has a unique flavour to them, and it gets you into the feel for that clan. The huge lumbering beasts of the Turtle Clan, the graceful Koi Clan. These obvious divides in ideology and design reaffirm that despite any allegiances, only one clan is ever going to rule Japan. On the other hand, while CMON pride themselves on their little plastic men, they might pride themselves on Kickstarter exclusives even more. So for reference for the build quality of this game, I think it's time that we did a little comparison between the Kickstarter components and the base game's components. Now for the game itself. Rising Sun takes place over a single year, with players performing different mandates over the course of 3 seasons, which act as sort of rounds, before entering winter, when points will be tallied and a winner declared. Each season only has time for 7 mandates to be played before that season's wars, battles in various regions, the number of which is determined by the number of players, and at the start of each season, which regions are going to go to war is shown beforehand, so each player can position themselves for those upcoming battles. And from that, I really just need to emphasize just how fast a game Rising Sun can be. Each season only has 7 mandates, and there's only ever 3 seasons. This means that you are always moving towards that goal, and that's part of Rising Sun's design philosophy, and is really baked into quite a lot of its gameplay. It is fast and tight, and it really rewards and emphasizes aggressive play. Your clans feel like upstarts, quickly raising whatever troops they can, and then making as much of a land grab as you can for all these things on the map. But it means that turtling, on the other hand, a strategy very common in a lot of war games, just isn't going to work out for you here. Your clans are fast and aggressive, not the lumbering beasts that a game like Risk sort of emphasizes. So what are you going to be doing in those seasons? Well, the first thing is the tea ceremony phase, where players can create alliances that will give both of those players considerable advantages that season. Bribes and promises flow like water in this phase, with almost everyone wanting to get an ally for the season ahead, especially when you know that you can ally with only one player at a time, meaning that if you ever have a game with an odd number of players, at least one person is going to be going it alone for that season. When I first started playing Rising Sun, I really felt there was a disadvantage if you didn't have an ally. But as I kept playing, I realised there were in fact some bonuses to going it alone for the season ahead. While you wouldn't be receiving any bonuses from your ally, from their actions, no one would be receiving bonuses from your actions, and so this extra level of complexity to the tea ceremony phase came about. I've had games where players literally bribed other players to not form alliances, while other people desperately pleaded, saying, help me out. And then someone said, I will pay you to not help that person. You don't have to help me, just don't help them. And that made the tea ceremony absolutely one of my favourite parts of the game. And it just got better the more times I played this game. Then we have the mandates, the actions from which players will be choosing between. Each mandate provides an action to every player at the table, but with a considerable bonus to whoever picked it, as well as their allies should they have one. Marshalling allows for each player to move their troops around the map, while giving the player and their ally the ability to create new strongholds. Training allows everyone to buy one card from that season's offerings, while offering the player and their ally a discount for these purchases. There's also the recruiting and harvesting mandates, giving you income and more troops on the board. But arguably the most important mandate is this one, Betrayal. This mandate is the black sheep of the set, providing no benefit to anyone other than the player who selects it. It allows that player to swap two troops with an equivalent unit from their own reserves as armies turn traitor. It breaks any alliance that you might have and also pushes you down the honour track if you did that. This mandate is terrifying. It's scary to see it in your own hands because it will make everyone at the table hate you should you pick it. And it's even scarier on everyone else's turn. Whenever anyone is picking between mandates, the threat or accusation that they're going to pick betrayal is thrown at them. And they always counter with promises to their ally or the table in general that they wouldn't ever betray or take this action. It has such a scary power and presence in the game that it's easily one of the most important design elements and one of my favourite parts of the entire game. The map on which all this drama plays out is worryingly small. Within the first marshal of the game, everyone's going to be invading everyone else's territory. Alliances will be tested almost straight away, and that's not going to stop until the very last turn of the game. It's a war game without the slow and lengthy Cold War that many other designs have. So let's talk about war, shall we? At the start of the war phase, everyone gets their cheat sheet with all of the political mandates and flips it over to see the war advantages. Throughout that season, all the information is open, the number of coins that people have, the number of Ronin, any advantages they bought. But when we get to war, now players can bid those remaining coins in secret to try and gain the right to take these war advantages. Players in a war will bid in secret, revealing at the same time and seeing who spent the most on those advantages, with the honour track breaking ties. Then players can take any of the actions that they have won. The seppuku action allows for players to cut their losses, with their generals committing ritual suicide to save the honour of their clan, but also giving you a way to move up that precious honour track. Taking prisoners gives a huge swing to the battle, allowing you to remove one of your opponent's pieces, while the higher Ronin action allows a player to bring all of the mercenaries they accrued that season. Finally, we have Imperial Poets. They say that history is written by the winner, but in Rising Sun you only need to win this one war advantage to have that honour. The player that wins Imperial Poets will gain a victory point for every figure that died in that battle, which can allow for a warlord to capitalise on their crushing military might, or for a loser to record a tale of valiant defeat, salvaging points out of a lost battle. Combat is deterministic. Each figure counts as one power with certain exceptions, and whoever has the most power wins the battle, with the loser losing every single figure in that battle, as well as any coins that they wagered for war advantages. The winner claims the token of the region they fought in, which will give them points at the end of the game. They also give the loser any of the money they spent in that battle, which allows for losers to potentially have even more money in upcoming battles. For some players, this combat can feel anticlimactic. Individual figures cannot create strange upsets, and the powers of the giant monsters, when they come down to it, are just numerical bonuses. But personally, I've never seen it that way. By removing any sort of randomness from the battle, it allows positioning and bluffing to take center stage in this game. It also gives rise to some really interesting strategies. Players might feint into a region with the aim of grabbing a hostage to give themselves an even stronger next season, while another strategy might be getting involved in an early fight, forcing your opponent to overspend, and then using that war bonus to capitalize in a later and more important battle. After the war phase, players discard any remaining coins that they have, as well as the mercenaries that they accrued that season, and the next season begins. Each one of these rounds builds on the last one, the betrayals of prior seasons, the upgrades and monsters that players have been hiring and acquiring, all serving to raise the stakes as we always march towards winter and the end of the game. Rising Sun is an exercise in excess and just bleeds theme. From its armies to its monsters, every part of this game just oozes that love of Japanese mythology. And in the base game, we were okay. But let's take a moment to talk about the Kickstarter. When we got into Kickstarter madness, Rising Sun became a little obsessive about Japanese mythology, but not particularly careful with it. One particular Kickstarter exclusive miniature highlights this better than any other, the Kotahai. Most likely inspired by Sun Wukong, the Monkey King of Chinese literature, this figure draws its name from a bizarre Wikipedia edit of a nickname of a New Zealand man that was grabbed and slapped onto a miniature. It joins a random assortment of other figures from random different mythologies and is then dropped onto a map that mixes capital cities and regions for its locations. Now, I have no doubt that Eric Lang and the team at CMON harbour no ill will or malice towards Japanese culture, but they really should have handled it with a bit more care. We have a responsibility as creators and as consumers to treat other cultures with respect and not just use them as sort of a set dressing. The least that could have been done would have been to ask someone from that culture about the mythology so that our figurines are named after actual mythological beings and not random people from New Zealand. I like Rising Sun a lot. Would it work with less components, making it more accessible to players? I think it would, but the flavour is a very large part of this game to me, and it feels like an essential part. This game was designed to have miniatures, and there's no escaping that. Huge monsters menacing Kyoto while your army marches to defend it. A symbol of your allegiance is there for everyone to see, but so easy for you to break it apart. The treacherous Bonsai clan cannot be trusted. Do not permit them an inch more. Beware the Koi clan, for they will twist the court against you. And so to me, seeing all the figurines on the map is a big part of that experience. Perhaps even more if I ever dare paint them. We then come back round to those Kickstarter exclusives, in particular the strongholds. These cardboard chits mark your strongholds around the map, but the Kickstarter exclusive strongholds are far more impactful and meaningful on the board, especially the Turtle Clan's mighty turtle strongholds. To me, these add a huge amount of presence to the board, and their exclusion is a real hindrance. Rising Sun is a great game, great out of the base box and even greater with those Kickstarter exclusives, but not great enough to warrant what the secondary market would have you pay for them. It is definitely my favourite game from Eric Lang. I love the mix of allegiance and betrayal with this mythological, feudal setting. I just adore it, and I'm always excited to get it to table. The expansions add a huge amount of variety with new monsters and variations in gameplay. If you have infinite resources and infinite storage space, emphasis on the storage space, I would recommend trying to pick up the Dynasty Invasion expansion, which adds 2 more clans and a mess of new monsters. But the base game is really not lacking in content. If you like the idea of a war game with a bit more talking, or a negotiation game with a little bit more of a bloody theme, I highly recommend giving Rising Sun a go, especially with 4 or 5 players. Build up your armies, hire monsters, try and just smash your opponents out of the way and betray your way to the top. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks for watching this review of Rising Sun for To The Table. Subscribe for more board game content.